Haunted Hospital Part 2. In the previous episode, the group of friends, Trung, Hugh, Lam, Lin, and Tung the cameraman, decided to film a vlog exploring an abandoned hospital in Saigon. At first, the atmosphere was casual. Everyone was joking around but also a little anxious, showing each person's personality. When they arrived, the plan was just to shoot a few staged, ghost scare clips to boost views. But the deeper they went inside, the creepier the atmosphere became. Peeling walls, strange noises, and Lin starting to feel uneasy. The first incidents happened. Hugh heard strange whispers in his headset, and the microphone picked up eerie static. The group's nerves began to crack, but they still pressed on to the upper floors to make the video complete. The climax, room 502's door suddenly rattled and burst open, releasing a chilling, ghostly laugh. The group panicked and ran down to the first floor, only to find the exit doors locked tight. The episode ended with them huddled together, terrified and trapped, while slow footsteps echoed from upstairs. The air on the first floor felt unbearably heavy. Trung's flashlight flickered weakly, its beam shaking across the cracked, moldy walls. Lin pressed herself into a corner, hugging her backpack tightly, her face pale, breathing short and fast. Lam kept pacing with his hands in his pockets, but his restless steps betrayed his anxiety. Hugh sat on the ground clutching the camera to his chest. His hand trembled as he pressed play. The dim bluish light from the tiny screen cast eerie shadows across his tired face, making the dark circles under his eyes stand out. Hugh swallowed hard, muttering as his eyes darted over the screen. "Look at this, guys, from the moment we walked in, things have been off." He rewound the clip. The footage showed them still at the gate, laughing, talking, with Lam teasing Lin about being scared of ghosts. Hugh pointed urgently at the screen. "Here it was still fine. We were joking around like nothing. But once we entered the ground floor, with the wind howling and the doors creaking, look closely. Bottom left corner. See that shadow sliding by?" Trung frowned, stepped closer, and leaned in. Trung muttered, "It's too faint, probably just dust." Hugh shook his head, exhaling sharply. "No, I remember it clearly." Then on the second floor, the mic caught whispers, like someone talking in the hall. "That's not the wind." He skipped ahead. The screen showed Trung opening room 301, Lin hesitating behind him. Her shaky breathing was clearly audible through the mic. Hugh's voice dropped as he looked up. And then, room 502. The door opened on its own. "You all saw it. That laugh, it's still stuck in my ears." The room fell silent. Lam swallowed dryly, rubbing his hands together. Lin glanced at Trung, searching for reassurance. Lam leaned forward, his voice hoarse. "I heard it too. That wasn't our imagination. But the real problem is the exit. Who locked it?" That question silenced them all. From Lin's backpack, the ticking of her watch sounded unnervingly loud. Hugh bit his lip, then fast-forwarded to the last shot, the group running down the stairs, the camera shaking violently, heavy breathing filling the mic, ending right there on the first floor. Hugh looked up at them, his voice breaking. "That means, from the moment we stepped in, we were never alone. Something is here with us." A gust of wind slipped through the broken window, carrying a damp, moldy stench. Lin shivered, curling tighter against the wall, her eyes glistening with fear. Lin whispered, trembling, Maybe we should smash the window and get out. I can't stay here." Trung placed a firm hand on her shoulder, speaking slowly but firmly. "Don't be scared. I'll figure something out. The windows have bars. But Lam and I will try. At least it'll keep us busy." Lam clenched his fists and nodded, forcing a weak smile. "Yeah, better to fight the bars than sit here waiting for those footsteps to come down." The moment he finished, from the second floor came the sound, clack, clack, like slippers dragging across the floor. All eyes snapped to the pitch-black stairwell, the darkness swallowing the beam of Trung's weak flashlight. Hugh bit his lip, clutching the camera, his eyes bulging, whites streaked red. He whispered shakily, almost to himself, "We've only just begun, and already we're trapped." Lam dragged an old wooden chair up against the rusted window frame. He climbed onto it, gripping an iron bar he'd picked up in the hallway. Took a deep breath, then swung hard. A loud crash echoed through the first floor as shards of glass rained down onto the dusty tiles. Lam looked back, forcing a crooked grin. See that? At least I broke something. I swear, if we stay in here any longer, my head's gonna explode. Lynn covered her ears, shoulders hunched, eyes darting nervously around. Her voice trembled. Smashing the glass is one thing, but those bars are thick. Can you guys even bend them? Trung stepped forward, gripped the bar, and wedged it against the iron grill. A piercing screech of metal filled the air. Veins bulged on his neck as he strained, but the bars didn't move an inch. Trung panted, glancing at Lam. Too solid. We'll need both of us. Lam climbed up beside him. Together they pressed the bar against the window bars. The sound was gut-wrenching, like metal screaming from deep in its throat. On the ground, Hugh's camera trembled in his hands. His voice cracked as his eyes stayed glued to the screen. Strange, we're making all this noise, but the mic's picking up something else. Like a faint chuckle, right behind us. Startled, he swung the camera toward the dark hallway. Empty. Lam snapped, irritation masking his own fear. Stop filming already. Hearing that sound off your camera is scarier than the real thing. Come help. Trung clenched his jaw and shouted, 1, 2, 3. A sharp crack rang out. One bar bent slightly outward, but nowhere near enough to squeeze through. Both collapsed back onto the chair. Drenched in sweat, Trung wiped his face, breathing heavily. No use, the frame's welded solid. We'd need cutting tools. Lynn's voice quivered. Then, what do we do now? The main door's locked, the windows are barred, and she never finished. From the staircase came a heavy thud, each step deliberate. Slow. Lynn clutched Trung's arm, nails digging so hard they broke the skin. Her panicked cry tore out. Someone's here. Trung, someone's really here. Hugh jolted, jerking the camera toward the stairs. His voice broke. I see it. On the landing, black. Just standing there. Lam shouted, though his own tone shook. Don't look. Pointed away. But when the flashlight beam swept over, nothing remained, only an empty stairwell. Dust swirling in the air. Trung tightened his hold on Lynn's shoulder, forcing calm into his voice. Maybe we're exhausted, seeing things. Don't panic. Right then, the iron-barred Trung had used slid off the chair on its own, clattering to the floor as if knocked by an invisible hand. Everyone froze. Lam swallowed, whispering, I left it steady. How the hell? No one answered. The only sound was the pounding of their hearts. Hugh pressed his back to the wall, voice trembling like a plea. There's something here, it doesn't want us to leave. It's keeping us in. Trung spun around, his voice firm, cutting through the fear. No, don't think like that. The moment we believe it, we're done. Treat it as just something unexplainable. We're still alive. We'll find a way. Lynn gave a weak nod, but her eyes glistened with tears. Lam drew in a deep breath, forcing courage into his words. All right, forget the window for now. Let's check the ground floor rooms. Old buildings like this usually have a back exit. The group crept down the pitch-black corridor. Every step on the tiles echoed sharply. Wherever the flashlight swept, stained walls loomed like faceless shadows. Hugh filmed, whispering like he was half delirious. Ground floor. Most of these rooms are locked up. Look, every lock's rusted, but almost new, like they were put on recently. Lam shoved at a wooden door. It didn't budge, only groaned like something in pain. He gave a dry laugh. Words tight, locked tighter than the main entrance. Who the hell bothers doing this to an abandoned place? Trung stayed silent, eyes scanning, then halted at a door with a corroded sign, medical storage. His voice dropped, measured. Pharmacy room. Maybe there's something useful inside. Let's pry it open. Holding their breath, they braced themselves. Lam steadied his shoulder. Hugh aimed the flashlight. Trung wedged the bar. After a harsh screech, the lock snapped. The door creaked open. A blast of icy air spilled out, carrying the sharp tang of old medicine mixed with something metallic and foul. Lynn gagged, covering her mouth, stepping back with wide eyes. Her voice cracked. "It's like someone's been here. That smell, it's fresh." Trung nodded slowly, keeping his composure. "Doesn't matter. Standing out here is worse. We're going in." He pushed the door wider. Darkness swallowed the room. Wooden shelves stood packed with dusty bottles and boxes. But at the far end, something moved. Faint, making the shelf tremble ever so slightly. Hugh staggered back, clutching the camera, voice breaking to a whisper. Someone's in there." The medical storage door groaned as Trung pushed it open. A sharp, acrid stench rushed out, mixing with the damp, moldy air, making everyone gag. Lamb grimaced, covering his nose. "Jesus, what the hell is that smell? You think there's still medicine in here? Bet it's all spoiled." Lynn clutched Trung's arm, her voice trembling. Maybe we shouldn't go in. Something feels wrong. I don't want to step inside." Trung turned back to her, his tone softer but firm. "I know, but we have to check if there's anything useful. If we can find pliers or medical supplies, it could save us later. Trust me, we'll just look quickly and leave." Hugh raised the camera with shaky hands, muttering to himself like he was trying to stay calm. "Record everything, maybe when we watch it back, we'll understand what's happening." They stepped inside. Wherever the flashlights swept, dust filled the air like smoke. Rows of yellowed glass jars sat stacked on the shelves, some cracked, with dried black streaks running down from their rims. Lamb picked up a wooden box, shook it, and gave a nervous laugh. "Sounds like syringes inside, probably rusted to hell. Use these and we'd die for sure." Trung stayed quiet, scanning the shelves. Then, in the corner, he spotted a small metal case, noticeably less dusty than the rest. Kneeling, he opened it. Inside were a few medical scissors, a roll of bandages, and, most importantly, a medium-sized bolt cutter. Trung let out a restrained but hopeful exhale. This could work. A bolt cutter might be enough for those bars. For a moment, Lynn's face lit up, relief shining in her eyes. "Then let's take it and get out of here. Please, don't stay." But as Trung was about to stand, Hugh suddenly swung his camera toward the far end of the room. On the screen, a rusty hospital bed came into view. A crumpled white sheet covered it. The terrifying part, the sheet was faintly rising and falling, as if something beneath it was breathing. Hugh's voice cracked, trembling. "Trung, look. On the bed, there's something there." Lamb snapped his head around, then staggered back a step. Don't say that's a person. I swear I saw it move." Lynn turned pale, pressing against Trung's back, her voice breaking. "No, I can't look anymore. Trung, let's get out, don't stay here." Trung tightened his grip on the bolt cutter, eyes locked on the bed. He took one cautious step, then shook his head firmly, looking back at them. "No closer. We're leaving now. Even if someone's there, we can't help them. Our safety comes first." They all backed away, but just as the wooden door closed behind them, a long, drawn-out creak echoed from inside, like something slowly sitting up. Then came a raspy, labored breath slipping through the crack. Lynn broke down, crying into her hands. "I can't take this anymore, please. Let's get off this floor." Trung pulled her close, urging her forward quickly. Lamb trailed behind, glancing back, his face chalk white. "This makes no sense. That place has been abandoned for years. Nothing human could be alive in there." Hugh's camera shook violently as he whispered in terror. "The mic's picking it up so clearly, that breathing, it's like it's right behind me." They rushed back to the barred window. Trung handed the cutter to Lamb, and the two took turns clipping the iron bars. Each clack, clack, echoed like a mix of hope and dread. Trung gasped, forcing the words out. "Almost, just a little more, there. Enough space to squeeze through." Lynn leaned forward to peer through the gap. The faint glow of the outside night filtered in. But suddenly, she froze, eyes widening, her breath catching in her throat. Her trembling finger pointed outward. "Wait, look, someone's standing there." All three turned sharply, just beyond the bars. In the dim, eerie courtyard, stood a tall figure in a stained white hospital gown, motionless, its face hidden in shadow. Only its lanky frame and limp, dangling hands visible. Hugh recoiled so fast the camera nearly slipped from his grasp. His screen cracked. That's not human. No one could just appear out there like that. Lamb cursed, yanking the cutter back. Goddammit, we're trapped. Something outside, something inside. How the hell do we escape? Trung forced himself calm, pulling them away from the window. His eyes sharp though his lips quivered. Quiet, don't let it know we're scared. Back inside, now. The four pressed against the hallway wall. Outside, the white-gowned figure still stood, utterly still, like a statue. The sound of cicadas in the night made the suffocating silence inside even worse. Hugh's camera rattled in his grip, lens still aimed toward the window. And then, in an instant, the figure was gone. Disappeared, as if it had never been there at all. A dead silence fell. Lin collapsed to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Trung stood rigid, sweat dripping down his temple. Lamb gripped the cutter so tightly his knuckles turned white. Hugh said nothing, just stared wide-eyed at the camera screen, where the image of the white-gowned figure had vanished only seconds before. The hallway was swallowed in a suffocating silence. The four pressed against the wall, breathing shallowly, as if afraid even their own breaths would call whatever it was back. Hugh stared at the camera screen, his voice breaking. I swear, the camera caught it clear as day. That white gown standing right there. And now, gone like it never existed. There's no way to explain this. Lamb slammed the bolt cutter onto the floor, sweat dripping down his face. Explain what? All I know is we're trapped. Can't get out through the window. And inside we've got that breathing thing. We're done for, dead. Lin sobbed, clinging tightly to Trung's arm, her words trembling. I can't take this anymore. Trung, why is this happening to us? We just wanted to film a few clips. Trung pulled her close, his eyes strained but his voice steady. Calm down. Panic will only make it worse. The window won't work. That leaves one option. Go up. Maybe there's a way to the roof. Lamb barked back immediately. Are you crazy? Upstairs is pitch dark. What if we run into that thing again? Hugh cut in, desperate. Staying here is what'll kill us. The window's useless. The stairs are blocked. Going up is the only hope. Otherwise we're just waiting to die. Lamb shook his head, glaring at Trung, torn. You really think this through? I know you're tough, but if we face it again, the four of us won't even have a chance to run. Trung's eyes swept over each of them before he spoke firmly. Which is exactly why we stick together. At least upstairs we won't feel boxed in like this. Another 5 minutes down here and we'll break completely. I'm going. Whoever wants to come, follow me. The air grew heavier. Lin sniffled, wiping her tears, then whispered through trembling lips. I'm scared, but I won't leave you. I'm coming. Hugh glanced at Lamb, swallowed hard, then forced a crooked grin. Me too. Better to capture something that proves this, than rot here. Lamb sat on the floor, clutching his head for a few seconds before exhaling sharply and standing up. Fine, I'll go, but I'm warning you, if I see anything, I'm running first. Trung gave a short nod, gripping the cutter as he led the way. The group moved quietly down the dark hallway toward the stairwell. Only the faint scrape of shoes against dusty tiles echoed in the silence. The flashlight beams swept over peeling walls, the stains twisting into faces that weren't there. Hugh muttered under his breath, almost to himself. The more I film, the more it feels like something's watching us. Every corner, like someone's standing there. Lamb hissed. Shut it. Don't jinx us. Lin tugged gently at Trung's sleeve, whispering, do you hear that? Like slippers dragging upstairs. They froze. From above came the sound. Shuffle, drag, slow. Heavy, deliberate. Lamb immediately backed up, panicked. See? I told you. There's something up there. Trung pressed a finger to his lips, signaling silence. Tilting his head, he whispered, footsteps, but I can't tell if it's human. Stay calm. We'll reach the stairs and decide. Step by step, they moved, hearts pounding like they'd explode. As they neared the stairwell, the flashlight beam caught an old, faded sign. Stairs to second floor, special treatment ward. Hugh read it aloud, his voice hoarse. Special treatment ward, that sounds even worse. Lamb muttered bitterly. Special, my ass. Probably where they locked up the worst cases. Perfect, this really is hell. Trung tightened his grip on the cutter, eyes fixed on the yawning black stairwell. He looked back once. No turning back. We go. He placed a foot on the first step. Each step groaned, the echoes bouncing endlessly through the darkness. Lynn trembled as she followed close, Hugh filming with shaking hands, and Lamb hesitated before reluctantly trailing last. On the fifth step, the dragging sound suddenly stopped. Silence crushed down again, heavier than before. That silence made their skin crawl more than the noise ever had. Lynn clutched Trung's sleeve tighter, whispering like a sob, It knows we're coming." Trung didn't answer, but the bolt cutter in his grip creaked as his hand clenched tighter. The staircase opened onto a long corridor. Rotten white painted doors lined the walls, some creaking open as if someone had just passed by. The stench of mold filled their noses, laced with the faint but unsettling tang of disinfectant. Trung swept his flashlight ahead. The walls were stained with old watermarks, and across them, faded red letters still read, "Special Treatment Ward, no entry without permission." Hugh raised his camera, his voice cracking. "God, this is straight out of a horror movie. That sign's supposed to scare people, but it feels like a real warning." Lamb glanced nervously left and right, gripping the iron bar tight, anger masking fear. "I told you, we shouldn't have come up here. And now we're walking right into the ward where they kept the worst patients. Tonight, we're dead for sure." Lynn clutched Trung's arm, her wide eyes glistening. "Trung, I feel so cold, like a draft coming from the end of the hall." Trung set a hand on her shoulder, his voice low and steady. "Stay close. Don't separate. If any door is open, keep away from it." The group moved slowly, the flashlights trembling across the doors. Some rooms lay empty, rusty bed frames toppled inside. Others stood half-closed, their interiors swallowed in pitch-black void. Suddenly Hugh gasped. "Wait, I just heard metal dropping in there." He swung the camera toward one of the rooms. In the darkness, a faint clink echoed, and then silence. Lamb paled, stumbling back. No way I'm going in there. Whatever's inside, leave it." Trung frowned, about to step closer, but Lynn yanked his arm. Please, don't go near it. Whatever's in there doesn't want us." Trung froze, then gave a slight nod, choosing to move on. The deeper they went, the thicker the air grew. Along the walls, cracked signs read, "Room 201 female patients. Room 202 uncontrolled patients. Isolation room." Each word seemed to watch them like unseen eyes. Hugh muttered as he filmed. "This would blow up online, millions of views easy. But, honestly, I don't even want to upload it. Feels like we're trespassing on something forbidden." Lamb shot him a weary glare. "Views? We're not even sure we'll leave alive." Before anyone could reply, a sound drifted from the far end. Clack, 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 like an old patient gurney rolling along the tiles. The noise was steady, slow, drawing closer with each echo. The four froze. Trung whispered urgently, "Lights down." Against the wall, they dimmed their flashlights to the faintest glow. The clack, clack, grew louder, stretching across the hallway, yet nothing appeared. Lynn trembled violently, sweat dripping from her grip on Trung's hand. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Hugh's camera pointed down the corridor, showing only emptiness. Then, without warning, the sound stopped. A crushing silence followed, before a warped, shrill female laugh tore through the stillness, muffled like through a broken speaker. "You've come, at last?" Lynn screamed, burying her face into Trung's shoulder. Shaking uncontrollably, Lamb cursed loudly, nearly dropping the iron bar. "Did you hear that?" Lamb's voice cracked. "That wasn't human, or was it?" Hugh's breath came in sharp bursts, his voice shaking as he kept filming. "My camera caught it. Room 204. That's where the voice came from. I'm not opening it. No way." Trung's lips pressed tight, his face tense. He gave a firm nod. Move past. Don't stop. No matter what. They hurried along the wall, rushing past room 204. Its door was ajar, a narrow gap releasing an icy draft against their skin. As the beam of light skimmed the opening, Lynn glimpsed a thin, hunched figure crouched in the corner. She shut her eyes tight and yanked Trung forward faster. At the end of the corridor, they found an old sign: Administrative Office, Special Treatment Ward. The door was closed, its rusted lock broken clean through. Hugh panted. Maybe hide in here, at least it's a closed room. Lamb snapped back. Are you insane? What if we get trapped? And God knows what's inside. Lynn's voice wavered. But I can't stay out here with that laugh. Trung scanned the hallway, weighing the choice, then placed his hand on the handle. We check. If it's safe, we stay for now. We can't keep moving like this. With a push from the cutter, the door creaked open, dust swirling into the air. Inside lay a wide room, broken desks, scattered medical files, overturned chairs. In the corner, a tilted metal cabinet stood half open, as if recently searched. The group rushed in, closing the door behind them. The air was suffocating, but at least it was sealed off from the hallway. Hugh panned the camera, voice shaky but steadier. Okay, at least it's empty. We've got furniture. Maybe we can block the door. Lamb exhaled heavily, dragging a chair against the door. Yeah, better stuck in here than out there. That gurney sound, that laugh, I'm losing my mind. Lynn dropped onto the floor, covering her face as tears streamed. Trung knelt beside her, resting a hand on her shoulder. It's all right, rest for a bit, I'm here. The room quieted, their breathing slowly steadied, but when Hugh's flashlight swung across the metal cabinet, he froze. His voice cracked. Wait, look, on the door, those marks. They're like handprints, but longer than human fingers. All eyes snapped to the cabinet. Across its dusty surface were faint, stretched impressions, narrow and curved like claw marks. Dragging down its length, Lynn buried her face into Trung's shoulder. Sobbing harder, Lamb went pale, pressing himself against the wall. Trung gripped the cutter tighter, eyes locked on the cabinet. The tension in the room suffocating. The atmosphere in the administrative office was crushing, like a weight pressing down on their chests. All eyes locked on the rust-stained cabinet, its surface marked with those unnaturally long handprints. A suffocating silence lingered. Then, clack, clack, a faint scratching, like nails dragging across metal, echoed from inside the cabinet. Lynn broke down, sobbing hysterically. I can't take this anymore. Trung, please, get me out of here. Trung gripped her hand firmly, forcing his voice steady. Stay calm. Listen to me. Out there is worse. We have to stay put. Lamb was drenched in sweat, his face pale as chalk. No way. That cabinet. Something's inside. If you all want to die, fine, but I'm leaving. He lunged to shove the chair away from the door, but Trung blocked him. Are you insane? Trung hissed. Didn't you see those freakish handprints? Opening it is suicide. Grinding his teeth, Lamb froze, retreating reluctantly though his whole body trembled. Hugh kept his camera trained on the cabinet, eyes wide, voice shaking. Wait, I can see something in the crack. It's moving. Looks like hair. The three whipped around, through the gap in the cabinet door. A clump of long, black strands dangled down, matted, swinging slightly, though the air in the room was still. Lynn shrieked, clinging to Trung in terror. Lamb slammed a fist against the wall, his voice breaking. Open it or not, it's coming out anyway. As if in response, the cabinet shook violently. Bang, 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 as though something inside was thrashing to get free. The metallic screech was unbearable. Trung yanked Lynn back, shouting, "Everyone, fall back, don't go near it." But Hugh, entranced, edged closer with the camera, whispering, We have to film it, no one will believe this otherwise." Suddenly, crash, the cabinet burst open. A freezing gust swept across the room. In the trembling flashlight beam, a figure sat crouched inside, its stringy black hair draped over its face, its skeletal body hunched, unnaturally long arms scraping deep grooves into the floor. Lynn screamed, collapsing onto the ground, Lam lunged to drag Hugh back, but before he could, the figure slowly raised its head. A ghastly, pale face emerged, eyeless hollows. A mouth split wide to the ears, twisting into a nightmare grin. The shrill voice crackled, identical to the one they'd heard laughing in the hall. "You came for treatment, too?" The group froze, hearts hammering to a standstill. Hugh staggered back, his camera shaking violently but still rolling. "My God, this isn't human, it's not human," he stammered. The creature crawled forward, its jerky, insect-like movements scraping claws against the floor. With every twitch, another icy draft spread across the room, chilling their lungs. Trung roared, hauling Lin toward the door. He shouted at the others, "Run, now, stop filming." But before they could escape, the door, barricaded with a chair, suddenly slammed inward from the outside. The chair skidded across the floor as the hallway filled with the rolling clack, clack, of a phantom gurney. Lam shrieked. Fronts blocked, backs blocked. "We're trapped." The thing from the cabinet slithered further out, its head tilting grotesquely as that piercing laugh screeched through the room. Trung's eyes darted, then he yelled, "The window! Move!" He pointed at a shattered window frame to the side. No time to think, they all bolted. Hugh stumbled after them, still clutching his camera as the footage blurred. Just before they reached the window, a long arm lashed out. Its claws screeched across the wall, sparking against the plaster. Lam ducked at the last second, his voice cracking. "It's blocking us. Trung, hurry!" Without hesitation, Trung swung the bolt cutter, smashing it down on the creature's arm. The metal on bone clang echoed, the room shaking as the thing shrieked in rage. Recoiling, seizing the moment, the four scrambled through the rotten window frame. The wood splintered apart as a rush of night air hit them. Outside, a narrow overhang stretched along the wall. Trung climbed out first, pulling Lin after him. Lam tumbled out next. Hugh slipped, nearly dropping his camera, but clung on desperately. Behind them, the pale creature lunged at the window, its claws scraping inches from Hugh's back. He screamed, hurling himself out just in time. They rolled across the narrow ledge, clinging to the wall. From inside, the white-faced figure leaned out the window. Its mouth split wide in endless laughter. Its warped voice echoed down the hall. "So many rooms, you haven't visited yet?" The night wind howled, carrying with it the stench of rot from deep within the hospital. The four lay sprawled on the ledge, gasping, hearts pounding in chaos. None dared look back. They knew the nightmare had only just begun. The four of them lay sprawled across the old awning, gasping for breath as though they had just slipped from death's grip. The cold night wind swept past, scattering moldy clumps of dust from the roof tiles. Behind them, the window still gaped open, and from within the darkness came that same shrill, drawn-out laughter, an unfinished promise echoing into the night. Lin trembled, her voice breaking with sobs. Lin cried, I can't take it anymore. I want out. Trung, I'm so scared." Trung held her tight, his eyes darting around for an escape. Trung reassured, "I know. But we're stuck on the second floor, we can't just jump. We need to find the emergency stairs." Lam panted, wiping the cold sweat from his forehead. Lam muttered a curse. "Damn it, if you hadn't swung that cutter back there, I'd be dead already. But how the hell are we supposed to keep going? That thing in the cabinet, what the hell was it?" Hugh clung to his camera, his voice trembling. Hugh whispered, "It's all recorded. I thought, if we make it out, this'll be proof. But maybe no one will even dare to watch it." Trung snapped at him in a low growl. Trung hissed, "Hugh, put the damn camera down. Keep filming and you'll be the first one to die." Hugh bit his lip but still clutched the camera tight, torn between fear and obsession. Lin lifted her tear-streaked face, pleading. Lin begged, "Trung, can't we go back? Try the stairs down to the first floor? I don't want to go deeper in." Trung shook his head bitterly. "Trung." "Lin, the main stairs collapsed. Remember? The first floor's pitch dark. The exit's welded shut. The only chance we've got left is the back stairwell, at the far end of the wing." Lam cut in, his tone harsh but shaking. "Lamb. And to get there we'd have to cross that long-ass hallway. You sure that thing won't crawl out after us?" As if in answer, a faint clack, clack, echoed from the dark hall inside. The sound of an old gurney rolling across the floor. The night wind seemed to die. Only the pounding of their hearts remained. Hugh swallowed hard, whispering so only the three could hear. Hugh stammered. It followed us out." Trung squeezed Lin's hand, signaling the others. Trung ordered quietly, "We can't sit here. Hug the ledge. We'll circle around to the end. Maybe find another way in near the stairwell." With no choice, they edged along the moss-covered wall, creeping across the rotting awning. Each step made the wood groan and splinter. Their nerves stretched taut. From inside the broken windows, the beam of their flashlight sometimes caught shadows behind curtains, shapes that seemed to be watching. But when they blinked, there was nothing there. Halfway across, Lin tripped, nearly falling. Trung caught her, but the impact sent a roof tile tumbling down. It shattered loudly against the silent ground below. Instantly, a screech ripped through the hallway. Metal claws scraped along walls, drawing closer, faster. Lamb's face drained of color. Lamb panicked. "Shit, it hurt us." Trung clenched his jaw, dragging them forward faster despite the creaking wood beneath their feet. Finally, they spotted a larger window ahead, its frame broken open. No time to think. Trung shoved Lin through first, then Hugh, then Lamb, before diving in last and slamming it shut. Inside, they found themselves in a long, suffocating ward. Rows of rusted iron beds lined the walls, draped in ragged blankets thick with dust. The air was foul, heavy with mold and rot. Lin covered her nose, choking back tears. Lin sobbed, "I can't stand this, everywhere is terrifying." Hugh panned the camera shakily, his voice cracking. Hugh muttered, This must have been the general ward. They kept dozens of patients in here at once." Lamb frowned, peering deeper inside, then suddenly pointed. Lamb said tensely, "Hey, do you see that? At the end of the ward." All eyes turned. At the far end of the rows sat a figure, slumped forward, long hair hiding its face. The light made it twitch, but it didn't look up. Trung instantly pulled Lin close, speaking in a low, urgent tone. Trung urged, "Don't approach. Circle around. Pretend it's not there." But as they moved sideways, the figure let out a faint sound. A weak, trembling voice, like a dying patient. A broken female voice. "Doctor, please, give me medicine." Lin froze, tears spilling. Lin whispered, "Oh God, it talked." No one answered. They hurried forward, but then the iron bed screeched as though being dragged. When they turned, the figure was gone. In its place, an old IV cart rolled into the middle of the aisle on its own. A shattered IV bottle swung from the hook, filled with thick black liquid that reeked of blood. Lamb cursed, backing up. Lamb hissed, "Shit, we're trapped." At the same time, footsteps slapped the floor behind them, followed by claws raking the walls. The cabinet creature had tracked them here. Trung tightened his grip on the bolt cutter, shouting to drown out the fear. Trung roared, "Keep moving. Don't stop." With no way back, the four of them had no choice but to charge through the ward's suffocating darkness, straight into whatever nightmare lay ahead. The footsteps chasing from behind grew louder, like a swarm of patients dragging themselves after them. Trung pulled Lin ahead, sweeping his flashlight frantically for an exit. Hugh still clutched the camera tight, panting hard, his heartbeat thudding so loud it bled into the mic. Lamb gritted his teeth, both hands gripping the cleaver he had grabbed earlier from the kitchen. Up ahead, the old blood transfusion cart still blocked the path, its IV bottle swaying, thick black liquid dripping drip, drip, onto the floor. The stench of rot was so foul Lin doubled over, gagging, her knees buckling. Lin choked and coughed. I can't breathe anymore." Trung caught her, snapping through clenched teeth. Trung growled, "Hold on. Lin, get past this and we'll reach the stairs." Lamb eyed the cart, panting. "Lamb, let me, I'll kick it aside." He charged forward, kicking the cart hard, but it didn't budge, like something unseen was holding it down. A chilling creak followed, its wheels turning slowly, then stopping dead. Right then, the slumped figure from earlier suddenly appeared beside the cart. Hair hung down in tangles, hands trembling as they clutched a rusty bed frame. Its head lifted. This time, all of them saw it clearly, a chalk-white face, hollowed sockets, lips bluish-purple, and its eyes, wide open, clouded, the gaze of something long dead but forced to keep staring. "Give me medicine, doctor," it rasped through clenched teeth. Again and again, Lynn screamed, covering her ears, tears streaming. Hugh shook violently, pressed flat against the wall, his camera still fixed on the walking corpse as if hypnotized. Trung shouted, waving it off. "Trung, we're not doctors. Get away." But the figure didn't retreat, it shuffled closer. With each step, the IV bag dripped faster, the black liquid spilling onto the floor, spreading thick like congealed blood. Lam panicked, raising his cleaver to strike, but Trung held him back. Trung snapped, "Don't touch it. Attack it and we're finished." They pressed into the corner. Trapped, behind them came the metallic scrape of the cabinet creature dragging closer. Ahead stood the patient and its dripping IV cart. Lynn nearly fainted in Trung's arms, her lips trembling, eyes darting wildly. Hugh whispered, dazed, "Hugh, there's a way. I remember a small door near this hall. If we get through it, we can dodge it." Trung spun toward him, eyes sparking. "Trung, where?" Hugh pointed shakily to the right wall, where peeling paint exposed a doorframe covered by a heavy curtain. No time left. Trung yanked Lin forward and jerked his head at Lam. "Trung, you hold it off. I'll get the door open. Once it moves, run." Lam's eyes burned red, breath ragged. "Lam, fine, let's do it." He lunged, cleaver raised, slashing at the cart. The blade sank into the IV bottle. Black liquid spurted out violently, splattering like fresh blood, its stench suffocating. The patient shrieked, a piercing screech that shattered the air, then whipped its head toward Lam and charged with terrifying speed. Meanwhile, Trung ripped the curtain aside, exposing a small, rusted steel door. Hugh dropped his camera to the side, fumbling desperately with both hands at the latch. Trung snarled, "Faster." Hugh cried out, "It's stuck. I can't get it open." Lam, fighting to hold the thing off, bellowed, "Lam, move it. I can't hold it back long." Trung jammed the bolt cutter into the frame, wrenching it with all his strength. At last, the door gave way with a screech, revealing a narrow, pitch-black passage coated in cobwebs and dust. No hesitation, he shoved Lin through first, then Hugh. Finally, he grabbed Lam by the collar, yanking him inside just as the patient lunged. The steel door slammed shut with a deafening clang. Outside, pounding fists and ear-splitting shrieks battered the metal. In the suffocating dark, the four collapsed onto the cold tile floor, gasping for air, sweat and the stench of blood clinging to them. Lin clutched her face, sobbing hysterically. "Lin, I can't take this anymore. I just want it to end." Trung wrapped her tight, whispering fiercely, "Trung, don't you dare. As long as we're alive, we fight our way out." Hugh curled up, holding the camera like a talisman, his voice broken. "Hugh, it's all recorded. If anyone finds this footage, they'll know how cursed this hospital is." Lam sprawled on the ground, panting hard, sweat dripping to the tiles. Lam gasped, "I swear, once we get out, I'm burning this damn thing." Before Trung could answer, from the far end of the narrow corridor came a sharp sound. Thump, 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 a cane tapping rhythmically on the floor. All four froze, breathless. In the darkness ahead, a tall, thin figure with a cane slowly emerged, drawing closer. The cane struck the floor, thump, thump, echoing endlessly, each hollow note stretching the silence tighter. The side corridor was icy cold, and all four stared in frozen terror at the vague silhouette slowly taking shape. The beam of the flashlight revealed an old man, frail and hunched, wearing a faded green striped patient gown. A threadbare black wool cap pulled low over his hollow face. His eyes, sunk deep into shadowy sockets, glimmered faintly as he shuffled closer, each step pounding in rhythm with their hearts. Trung tightened his grip on Lin's hand, forcing calm into his voice. Trung whispered, Who's there?" The old man stopped about 15 feet away, tilting his head slightly before breaking into a dry, rasping laugh, tinged with sorrow. "Old man, it's been a long time since anyone walked this way." Hugh clutched his camera like a shield, swallowing hard. Hugh stammered, Who are you? Why are you here?" The man didn't answer right away. He tapped his cane once on the floor, clack, before speaking, his voice echoing like it rose from a deep well. "Old man, I've been here since before this hospital closed. They used to call me the manager of Wing B, but now, I suppose I'm nothing more than a shadow." At the word shadow, Lin shuddered and buried her face against Trung's chest. Lam raised his cleaver half a step forward, voice rough and tense. Lam growled, "If you mean us no harm, then step aside. We just want to get out." The old man tilted his head again, a faint gleam flickering in his eyes before he chuckled softly. "Old man, get out? Here, outside, and inside, no longer mean anything." The words thickened the air, pressing down like lead. Hugh shook his head violently, desperate to resist the creeping cold. "Hugh, no, that's not true. We saw the gate. We just have to make it through." The old man slowly lifted a trembling hand and pointed toward the endless black at the end of the corridor. "Old man, the gate? You really think that door leads outside? You're just walking in circles. This place is a loop. Every step, every scream, has already repeated itself hundreds of times." Trung's chest tightened as though bound. He clutched Lin's shoulder and forced the question out. "Trung, so you're saying others came before us? Just like us?" The old man sneered, gaze distant. "Old man, dozens, hundreds, young ones, chasing proof, and they all stayed. Their bodies filled the wards. Their voices filled the halls. You hear those footsteps behind you? That's not ghosts. That's them, others like you, trapped here forever." The group froze in horror. Distant whispers and dragging footsteps drifted through the outer halls. Answering his words, Lin shrank in on herself, tears flowing uncontrollably. Furious, Lam raised the cleaver. Lam shouted, "Stop trying to scare us. If you know the way, show it. If not, get out of our way." The old man fixed Lam with a chilling stare. He took a single step closer, voice dropping into a growl. "Old man, you dare raise a blade at me? Careful, this hospital devours men like you first." The atmosphere thickened with dread. His shadow stretched grotesquely across the wall, twisting into something impossibly tall and misshapen. Their hearts hammered as though about to burst. Trung stepped between them, shielding Lam, his voice low but firm. "Trung, enough. Put it down. Fighting him won't help us." The old man chuckled softly, then turned his back, hobbling forward with deliberate steps. His rasping voice floated behind him. "Old man, if you wish to escape, follow me, but remember this, don't look back. Anyone who turns will never take another step." The words clung to the air like a curse. Trung and Hugh exchanged a glance, both eyes torn with doubt. Lin trembled, clutching Trung's sleeve, whispering through sobs, "Lin, I'm so scared, but I trust you. Let's follow him." Hugh bit his lip hard, exhaling, "Hugh, there's no other choice. If we don't, we rot here anyway." Lam scowled, reluctant, but finally lowered the cleaver and spat on the ground. "Lam, fine, but if he tries anything, I'll cut him down." So the four trailed behind the old man, the thump, thump of his cane guiding them through the suffocating dark. The corridor swallowed the flashlight's glow, leaving only the sound of their steps. They held their breath, none daring to look back. Yet behind them, louder and louder, came the scrape of countless dragging feet and faint, overlapping whispers, as if dozens of unseen people followed in unison. Lin squeezed her eyes shut, tears streaking her cheeks, and stumbled onward blindly. Suddenly, the old man stopped before a rotting wooden door. His hand trembled as he pressed the cane against the floor. He turned, cloudy eyes boring into them, and whispered hoarsely, "Old man, through this door, you'll see where you truly are." With that, he pushed gently. The door groaned open, releasing a gust of icy air. Beyond was not freedom. It was another vast ward, stretching endlessly. Rusted beds lined in rows, each draped with yellowed white sheets. Beneath every sheet, vague human shapes lay utterly still. The four froze, goose flesh rising all over. And then, every sheet dropped at once, fluttering to the floor. On each bed sat a corpse-like patient, faces chalk white, eyes wide open. In perfect unison, they whispered, "Stay here with us." The room stretched so vast that even the sweep of their flashlights couldn't find an end. Dozens, no, hundreds, of hospital beds lined in endless rows, each draped in yellowed sheets. Now uncovered, every bed revealed chalk-white faces, eyes wide and lifeless. All of them whispered in unison, like wind howling through a graveyard. "Stay with us." The chorus made Hugh's ears ring. His hands shook violently, the camera jolting in his grip. He staggered back a few steps, heart pounding, words tumbling out between ragged breaths. Hugh panicked. "My God, they're all coming back to life." Lynn tore free of Trung's hand, clutching her head, shoulders trembling. Tears poured down her cheeks, her voice breaking apart. Lynn sobbed, I can't take this anymore. These people, they're not human." Trung wrapped his arms around her, forcing calm into his trembling voice even as panic flickered in his eyes. Trung urged, "Lynn, listen to me. Don't look into their eyes. Just look at me, okay? Stay with me." Lam gritted his teeth, white-knuckled around the meat cleaver, eyes darting wildly. He bellowed, half to terrify the monsters, half to steal himself. Lam roared, "You won't scare me. Come on then, try me if you dare." But strangely, the patients didn't leave their beds. They sat stiffly, bodies unmoving, mouths repeating one hollow phrase, over and over, like a chant from the abyss. "Stay, stay?" Hugh clawed at the wall for balance, his gaze snapping toward the old man who stood calmly by the door. His voice cracked, desperate. "Hugh, why did you bring us here? This isn't the way out." The old man stood tall, cane trembling faintly in his grip. His clouded eyes seemed to pierce straight into another realm. His rasping voice echoed slow and heavy. "Old man, to escape, you must pass through them. There's no other way. But remember, never answer when they call. The moment you reply, you become one of them." The words froze the air solid. Trung tightened his hold on Lynn's hand, exchanged a sharp look with Hugh and Lam, then nodded firmly. Trung declared, "Let's move. There's no choice." The four began edging into the room. Each step creaked on the brittle tiles. The patients tracked their movement in eerie unison, eyes hollow, mouths murmuring, "Stay with us." Lynn clung to Trung, eyes glued to the ground, her whisper shaking. "Lynn, Trung, what if I look into their eyes? I'm scared I won't be able to stop myself." Trung gripped her tighter, answering fast, sharp with determination. "Trung, I'm here. Just keep your eyes on me. I'll get you out, I swear." Hugh angled his trembling camera toward the right rows of beds. The footage jittered violently, capturing pale faces tilting in eerie sync toward them. He muttered to himself, voice quivering, "Hugh. Unbelievable, hundreds of them. It's like their eyes are draining the blood right out of me." Suddenly, a patient on the nearest bed shot out a skeletal hand, clutching Hugh's wrist. He screamed in terror. Hugh shrieked, "Ah, let go of me." Lam lunged, cleaver flashing. With a vicious swing, he hacked down. The bony hand dropped, splattering thick black blood that hissed and evaporated like smoke. The bed rattled violently, and the patient sat bolt upright, staring at Lam with unblinking eyes. Then, all around them, beds began to stir. 1, then 2, then 10 patients sat rigidly upright, their murmurs quickening into a feverish chant. "Stay, stay, stay?" Lynn wailed, clinging desperately to Trung. Lynn cried, "They're getting up. All of them. Hurry. Please. Hurry. Trung shouted, voice hoarse and raw. Trung. Run. Don't look back. Just run straight through. The four tore down the center aisle, dodging grasping hands reaching from every direction. Hugh ran with the camera still clutched tight, its light whipping across ghastly faces, recording a nightmare made real. Their pounding footsteps thundered as the whispers swelled into a deafening, unified scream. Stay with us. The flashlight beam lurched wildly, showing the four figures sprinting through the endless maze of beds, as though trapped in a looping dream. And the old man? He remained at the door, watching in silence. A thin, chilling smile crept across his face. Footsteps thundered against the cracked tile floor. The room stretched endlessly, hospital beds lining up like an infinite corridor with no exit. Every patient sat upright at once, their heads cocked to the side, white eyes tracking the group's every desperate step. Hugh clutched the camera tight against his chest, sweat streaming down his face as he panted frantically. He screamed, his voice cracking with panic. Hugh shouted, "This room never ends. Goddammit, we're trapped in a maze." Trung dragged Lin close, his bloodshot eyes blazing with strain. His voice came out low and urgent between gasps. "Trung, don't stop. Just keep running. As long as we run, they can't catch us." Lin sobbed uncontrollably, tears spilling down her cheeks. She clung to Trung's hand with all her strength, her voice trembling. Lin cried, I can't take it anymore. They're looking at me, like they're trying to rip my soul out." Behind them, Lam brought up the rear, meat cleaver glinting in the flashlight's jittery beam. His shirt clung with sweat as he spun around, slashing wildly at the shadows. Barking through clenched teeth, Lam snarled, "Back off. Come at us and see what happens." Suddenly, a skeletal hand clamped around his ankle. Lam stumbled, nearly falling, then roared as he swung the cleaver down hard. The blade sliced through the hand, spraying thick black blood that hissed away into smoke. The patient bolted upright, shrieking, "Stay with us." That scream set off the others like wildfire. Dozens of beds shook violently. The room erupted with piercing cries and the sound of feet hitting the floor. Dozens, then hundreds of pale figures began to rise, stepping stiffly but in perfect unison, an army of the dead closing in. Hugh was nearly hysterical, the camera quivering as he screamed. Hugh panicked. "We're screwed. Totally screwed. They're all coming down. Trung, where's the way out?" Trung tightened his grip around Lin, his eyes darting wildly. His voice broke into a desperate roar. "Trung, no time to think. Just keep running. Don't look back." A patient lunged in front of them, blocking the way. Its face was ghostly pale, mouth torn wide to the ears, eyes glowing crimson. Lin shrieked and collapsed against Trung's chest. Lam bellowed and swung with everything he had. The cleaver split the creature's face clean in two. Its body collapsed with a hiss of black smoke instead of a scream. Panting hard, eyes wide with terror, Lam shouted, "Lam! Move! Don't stop! Go!" The four surged forward, flashlights jerking wildly in the chaos. The room seemed endless, their breaths ragged, blending with the nightmarish screams echoing all around them. Then Hugh spotted it, far ahead. A faint glimmer of a steel door cracked open. His eyes lit up with frantic hope, and he yelled at the top of his lungs, "Hugh! A door! There's a door up ahead! Hurry!" Trung's eyes flared with determination. He scooped Lin into his arms and pushed his body harder. Behind him, Lam hacked his way through the onslaught of staggering figures. Only 10 meters left, but beds rattled violently on both sides, spilling out more figures to block the way. Their whispers swelled, overlapping into a single dreadful chant. "Stay, stay, stay?" Lin screamed, her nails digging into Trung's neck as she sobbed hysterically. Lin wailed, "No, there's no way out, they've blocked it." Trung's jaw clenched, eyes burning red with fury. Trung roared, "Even if they block it, we fight through. There's no turning back." Hugh trembled but raised the camera, its light cutting through the crowd. Dozens of pale faces snapped toward the lens, hundreds of hollow eyes boring into him. A chill ran down his spine. "Lam, like a beast cornered, swung the cleaver with savage force. His voice ragged with exhaustion. Lamb. Cut them down. Break through. We're not dying here. In the madness, Trung clutched Lin tight and charged headlong into the mob. Hugh and Lamb pressed close behind. Cold hands clawed at them, whispers merging with screams, the room exploding in chaos. The steel door loomed only a few steps away. Their hearts pounded like they'd burst from their chests. With one final surge of strength, Trung slammed his hand against it. The door burst open, and blinding white light poured through. Blinding white light spilled through the gap as Trung threw his weight against the iron door. The hinges screamed like they hadn't moved in decades. The four of them stumbled inside. The heavy door slammed shut behind them with a deafening bang, the echo crashing through their chests like a blow. This new place was different. No hospital beds, no pale, staring faces, just a long hallway lit by flickering old neon lights. Mold streaked the walls. Water stains bled yellow across the ceiling. Somewhere above, an ancient fan clicked and rattled in a steady, broken rhythm. Lin clung to Trung, her tear-reddened eyes trembling. Her voice broke into a whisper. Lin murmured, Was that real? I thought we were dead." Trung brushed her hair back, eyes still darting warily around. His words were soft, but hard with resolve. "Trung, we're alive, so we keep moving. No more stopping, understand?" Hugh's hands shook so hard the camera swung in jerks. He gasped for breath, voice cracking, almost crying. Hugh groaned. "I swear, I've never seen a nightmare like that. Those things, they weren't even human anymore." Lamb's knuckles whitened on the meat cleaver, chest heaving, his glare cut down the corridor. Voice rough and cold. "Lamb, calm the hell down. This place isn't safe either. Don't think we're out yet." Then, footsteps. Slow, echoing, dragging through the hall. The four froze, all eyes snapping toward the far end. A rusted hospital gurney rolled out of the shadows by itself, wheels screeching against tile. No one pushed it. A white sheet draped over the frame, bulging as though something lay beneath. Hugh stumbled back, eyes wide with terror, stammering, "Hugh, there's someone on it." Lin shrieked, clutching Trung tighter, sobbing. Lin cried, I don't want to see. Don't let me see it." Trung quickly covered her eyes, holding her against his chest. His own gaze locked on the gurney as it screeched to a halt in the center of the hallway. The silence pressed down like stone. Then, the sheet ripped upward. A shriveled corpse sat bolt upright, skin bruised and rotting, eyes hollow pits boring straight into them. Its jaw unhinged, releasing a guttural rasp. "Give it back to me." The sound froze their blood solid. Lamb reacted instantly, roaring as he swung the cleaver down. The blade smashed sparks off the gurney frame. When they blinked again, the body was gone. The bed sat empty, sheet crumpled across the floor. Hugh gasped, voice breaking. Hugh stammered. It vanished. "But I saw it. I know you all saw it too." Trung's jaw tightened, eyes blazing. "Trung, ignore it. They're trying to break us. Keep moving. Don't stop here." They pressed forward, each step echoing in the cold corridor. The neon lights flickered harder, stuttering like dying breaths. Lin gripped Trung's arms so tight her nails dug in, whispering, "Lin, Trung, I swear someone's walking right beside us. I can hear footsteps." At that exact moment, Hugh swung the camera left. The broken mirror on the wall reflected their group, and two shadowy figures hunched right behind them. Hugh screamed in horror. "Hugh! They're behind us. There's more. It's not just us." Trung whipped around, but the hall stretched empty and bare. "Nothing." Lamb shoved forward, voice sharp with fury. "Lamb, don't look. Don't let them smell fear. Keep moving straight." They broke into a run, the corridor stretching on endlessly, each turn promising escape yet giving none. But the other footsteps remained, sometimes fast, sometimes dragging, always following. Finally, at a corner, salvation seemed to appear. A pair of glass emergency exit doors, glowing faintly with light from the other side. Above them, a sign, "Emergency exit." Trung roared, clutching Lin's hand as he sprinted. Trung. There. The exit. Run. But as they neared, the doors slammed shut with a thunderous crash. A metallic click echoed, the lock snapping into place. The neon lights overhead died all at once. Darkness swallowed the hall whole. Breathing pressed in from behind. Heavy. Cold. Not theirs. Lin sobbed into Trung's chest. Choking out, Lin whispered, "There's someone right behind us." Trung spun, Hugh's camera beam jerking around just in time. And in the dim cone of light, dozens of faces stared back. White, vacant, pressed close, right at their backs. All at once, every head bowed in unison. And a single voice whispered through them all. "Stay with us?" The whispers stretched on, echoing like dozens of throats chanting in unison. "Stay with us?" The air thickened, pressing down on their lungs. The hallway was pitch black except for the weak, trembling beam of Hugh's camera light sweeping across pale, hollow faces. Trung threw his arms wide in front of Lin, eyes wide, his voice sharp with barely restrained fear. "Trung, stay behind me. Don't let go of each other. No matter what." Lin collapsed to her knees, sobbing, her body shaking violently. Lin choked. I can't take this anymore. They're staring like they want to drag us away." Hugh's trembling hands made the flashlight flicker. His voice cracked as he stammered through ragged breaths. "Hugh, do you see it? Look, there aren't even eyes. Just hollow sockets." Lam planted himself on the flank, meat cleaver raised, the dull blade glinting. His voice dropped into a cold snarl. "Lam, if they step closer, I'll cut every last one. Stay tight, don't break formation." The group inched backward. Strangely, the pale figures moved too, perfectly matching their pace, like a single body drifting forward. SHHRRP, SHHRRP. Their dragging feet scraped the tiles. The air reeked of damp rot, so thick it choked their throats. Trung clutched Lin's hand, his voice rough as he forced the words out. "Trung, don't look back. Just forward. Head for that glass door." Hugh swung the light to the glowing green, "Emergency exit" sign. The doors stayed shut, still and mocking. Hugh broke into a sob, shouting, "Hugh! It's locked, it won't open, we're trapped." Lam roared and slammed his cleaver against the handle. The sound clanged down the hall, but the frame barely shuddered. The lock didn't budge. The whispers behind them grew harsher, heavier. The pale bodies were close enough now that bony, blue-tinged hands stretched outward, brushing their hair, their shoulders, their necks. Lin screamed, her voice splitting. "Lin! They're touching me. They're holding me." Trung spun and knocked the cold hand from her shoulder, screaming hoarsely, "Trung! Let her go." The light caught a face inches from Lin, featureless but for a gaping mouth that stretched from cheek to cheek. Curling into a grin, Hugh shrieked, nearly dropping the camera. "Hugh! Run! Run now!" Lam slashed through the air, the blade slicing into nothing but ice-cold emptiness. Yet the figures jerked backward in unison, the chanting cut off mid-breath. Trung seized the chance, shouting, "Trung! Break the door! Now! Break it!" Lam hacked at the glass with the cleaver while Hugh ripped a fire extinguisher from the wall and smashed it over and over. Cracks spidered across the glass, each strike ringing sharp in the silence. Lin sobbed in Trung's arms, whispering through gasps, "Lin! They're saying our names." Trung, Hugh, Lam, Lin, one by one. Trung froze. He heard it too. The chant had changed, voices droning their names over and over, stabbing into his chest like knives. Trung, Hugh, Lam, Lin. The sound was steady, merciless. Hugh screamed as he swung with all his strength. The extinguisher finally shattered the glass in a crash of shards. A hole gaped open, just big enough. Trung shoved Lin forward, shouting, "Trung! Go! Lin, you first!" She crawled through, choking on tears. Hugh squeezed after her. Trung grabbed Lam's arm, but pale hands surged forward, seizing Lam's legs and shirt, yanking hard. Lam roared, slashing wildly, the blade flashing. His voice thundered like an order. "Lam! Go! Don't look back! I can hold them. Trung lunged, seizing his wrist, dragging with every ounce of strength. For a split second he faltered, until Hugh's voice screamed from the other side. Hugh! Trung, if you don't move now, we're all done. Trung clenched his teeth and yanked with everything he had. Both he and Lamb tumbled through the jagged hole as the grasping hands clawed at empty air. The door slammed shut behind them, whole again, as if it had never broken. The four collapsed on the cold tiles, gasping, chests heaving. Before them stretched a narrow concrete stairwell spiraling down into blackness. From the depths below, a bell tolled slowly, clang, clang, each strike hollow, echoing like it rose from the bowels of the earth. Trung wiped sweat from his brow, his voice steady but grim. Trung, come on, this way's all we've got. Maybe it leads out. Lin lifted her tear-streaked face, staring down into the abyss of stairs. She shivered, whispering through broken breaths. Lin, but what if down there is even worse? No one spoke another word. The bell's hollow clang, clang, echoed from below, mournful and steady, as if something down there was waiting for them. Trung squared his shoulders and stepped down first, his voice low but resolute. Trung, we go in order. I'll lead, Lin behind me, then Hugh, and Lamb covers the rear. Hugh swallowed hard, fumbling with the camera as his chest heaved. Hugh, shit, I swear my heart's about to jump out of my chest, but yeah, let's go. Turning back's a death wish. Lamb tightened his grip on the cleaver, the blade glinting faintly. His words came out in a low growl, restrained but fierce. Lamb, don't stop. Wherever we go, I'll clear the way. Lin clung to Trung's shoulder, trembling, her whisper barely audible. Lin, I hear footsteps, they're not ours. Everyone froze, listening. Sure enough, beneath the bell's rhythm came slow, deliberate steps echoing from the depths. But strangely, they sounded exactly like their own, impossible to tell real from reflection. Trung glanced back, his voice harsh but steady. Trung, ignore it, keep moving, stop, and they'll catch us. They descended. The stairwell spiraled endlessly, loop after loop. The wall lights were all dead. Hugh's camera provided the only glow. Each flicker revealed mold-streaked stains that warped into grotesque faces. Eyes pressed against them. Hugh lifted the lens, voice shaking. Hugh! Shit, the walls, look. Handprints. Everywhere. Black as tar. Lamb threw a glance, voice rough and dismissive. Lamb. Hands are blood. Doesn't matter. Don't stare. Move. Lin's grip dug into Trung's arm, tears streaming down her face. Lin. I can't breathe anymore. Trung, why won't these stairs end? It's like we're stuck in a loop. Trung halted just long enough to look her in the eyes, his tone firm and unyielding. Trung, listen to me. Stop thinking. Just follow me. I won't leave you, no matter what's waiting below. Her throat caught. She could only nod, squeezing his hand tighter. They pressed on. The bell tolled louder now, sharper, until suddenly the stairwell ended. Before them stood a heavy wooden door, dark with age, sealed by a massive rusted lock. Above it hung a decayed sign, the faded letters barely legible, basement. Hugh tilted the camera closer, his voice cracking with dread. Hugh, the basement, fuck, everyone dies in the basement in these damn movies. Lamb stepped forward and rapped the cleaver against the lock. Instead of breaking, it answered back, clack, clack, as if something inside was knocking back. Lin staggered backward, gasping. Lin, there's someone. Someone's in there. Trung's hand shot up for silence. He pressed his ear to the wood. From the other side came a slow rhythm of 3 knocks, followed by a wheezing breath. Hugh's voice quavered, desperate. Hugh, maybe don't open it. We could go back up. Lamb cut him off, firm and certain. Lamb, there's no other way. We open it. Trung gave a grim nod. Together, he and Lamb forced the lock with cleaver and a rusted iron bar. After a few violent strikes, the shackle snapped. The door creaked ajar, a rush of icy, mold-ridden air spilling out. Inside lay darkness. The camera beam swept through, revealing a low-ceilinged concrete cellar. Walls cracked and damp. In the center sat an old metal chair. And on it, a frail figure. Hunched forward, hair hanging long over its face. Lin's whisper quivered, barely sound. Lin. A person? Trung narrowed his eyes, voice low. Trung. Wait, don't go near. Hugh's shaking lens zoomed in. The camera caught the arm, skin gray and blotched. Purpled with bruises, fingers curled stiff. Suddenly, the figure twitched violently, then slowly lifted its head. A pale, eyeless face stared back, its mouth split wide to the ears. The gash opened, releasing a guttural sound, half sob, half laugh. They've come, they've come. Lin screamed, clutching Trung in terror. Hugh nearly dropped the camera. Stumbling back, Lam surged forward with a roar. Cleaver raised. Lam, stay the hell away from us. But the figure never rose. It only sat there, mouth working over the same phrase, echoing in every corner of the cellar. They've come, they've come. The air grew heavy, suffocating. Then from the cracks in the walls came a faint skitter, skitter. Hugh swung the camera to the sound, dozens of pitch-black hands writhing out from the gaps. Crawling like insects, reaching down toward the floor. Trung crushed Lin's trembling hand in his. Voice hoarse but commanding. Trung, don't stand still. Find another way out, now. The cellar thickened into pitch darkness. The words, they've come, grew faster, pounding together with the scraping of dozens of hands clawing against the walls. The air was suffocating, damp, and foul. Every breath felt like dragging in sludge. Hugh shook violently, swinging the camera with a shriek. Hugh! Holy shit, they're crawling out. They're really crawling out. Lin nearly collapsed, clinging to Trung with all her strength. Her voice broken and faint. Lin! Trung, save me. I'm scared. I'm so scared. Trung crushed her hand in his, dragging her close, his shout slicing through the chaos. Trung! Stay calm. Don't look at them. Stay right behind me. Lam took the lead, cleaver raised, his eyes darting around the cellar. His voice thundered, forcing courage into the choking fear. Lam. Left side. I see a small door. Run. Trung yanked Lin forward, urging Hugh along. Hugh stumbled, swearing non-stop, clutching the camera as the blackened hands reached farther, snatching for their limbs. One smeared across his shirt, leaving a slimy black streak. Hugh screamed, stumbling. It touched me. Lam spun and slashed hard. The blade tore the air with a dry swish, the hand dissolving into smoke, only for more to sprout instantly from another crack. Lam snarled. Cutting's useless, there's too damn many of them. The group hurled themselves toward the small door tucked in the corner. Low and narrow, only one person could crawl through at a time. Trung shoved Lin down first, barking orders. Trung, go. Lin, you first. She ducked, trembling, squeezing through. Hugh followed, the camera clattering against the wall but still clutched tight. Trung crouched next, when a piercing shriek split the cellar. The man in the chair snapped upright, his body convulsed, head lolling grotesquely to one side, eyeless sockets locking straight onto Trung. His mouth ripped wide, unleashing a bone-rattling howl. You can't leave. The whole cellar quaked. The wall hands stretched longer, surging all at once toward the group. Trung whipped to Lam, shouting, Trung, you go first. I'll hold them off. But Lam roared back, shaking his head, voice booming. Lam, no, I'll stay. Move it, Trung. Then he spun and charged the nightmare figure that had risen from the chair. His cleaver flashed in the camera's light as he bellowed. Lam, if you want someone, take me. Trung clenched his jaw, shoved Lin deeper into the passage, dragging Hugh with him. Behind them, steel clashed against bone, inhuman howls colliding with Lam's battle cry. They crawled frantically through the suffocating shaft, the cold concrete scraping their faces. Mold and dust stuck to their skin. Lin sobbed, whispering like a broken record. Lin, we can't leave Lam, we can't leave him behind. Trung panted, voice thick with grief but unyielding. Trung, he wants us alive. Keep moving. Lin, go. Hugh crawled last, gasping, his words trembling with guilt. Hugh. Shit, leaving him. We're betraying him. The clash behind built to a frenzy, blades slamming. Monstrous shrieks tearing through the dark, then suddenly, silence. All three froze. Lin burst into sobs. Trung clamped her hand tight, refusing to stop. At the tunnel's end, a rusted iron door appeared. Trung slammed his shoulder into it. It gave way, and the three tumbled out into another wide room, empty except for a single swaying yellow bulb. They sprawled across the cold floor. Panting, Lin buried her face in her hands, crying uncontrollably. Hugh scanned the emptiness with wild eyes, his voice breaking. Hugh, where's Lam? God, don't tell me he's... Trung's fists trembled, his eyes burning red, but he said nothing. He only turned back to stare at the crawlspace door. It slowly shut on its own, the latch clicking into place. Silence followed. No more steel, no more screams, only crushing quiet. Trung exhaled a ragged breath, voice hoarse. Trung. He stayed behind. No one dared speak after that. Only Lin's choked sobs mixed with Hugh's ragged breathing. The bulb swayed overhead, casting distorted shadows. On the far wall, the silhouette of a man suddenly appeared, tall, holding a cleaver. But when they whipped their heads around, the wall was empty. Hugh stammered, ghost white. Hugh. Trung, you saw it, right? That shadow, it looked just like Lam. Trung stayed silent, the veins on his clenched fists bulging. Lin clung to his arm, trembling violently, sobbing. Lin. No, it can't be, not Lam. The air thickened again, heavier than ever. From that moment, they knew, there was no turning back. Hugh was the first to step out of the dark room. His hand still trembled from the bone-chilling cold, as if every vein in his body had just frozen solid after they escaped that sea of hospital beds. In front of them stretched a hallway bathed in the sickly yellow glow of an old fluorescent tube light. He turned back, voice shaky but trying to reassure the others. Hugh gestured with his hand. Come on, we're out. At least there's light here. Not pitch black like in there. Trung followed closely behind, sweat matting his hair, eyes scanning the hallway with suspicion. He replied slowly. Trung, breathing heavily. Yeah, it's lit, but why's it so quiet? No wind, no footsteps, nothing. Like this hallway was built only for the four of us. Lam shut the last door behind them, leaning against its heavy weight with a forced laugh. Lam wiped his forehead. Forget it, as long as there's a way forward. That's enough. Honestly, I thought we'd be stuck in that maze of hospital beds forever. Lin walked last, silent, her gaze fixed on the windows sealed with rotting planks. She tilted her head slightly, as if listening to something. Hugh noticed and called out. Hugh stepped closer. Hey, Lin, what is it? You hear something? She hesitated, then spoke softly. Lin whispered. There's a voice, calling my name. Very faint, but clear. The air tensed instantly. Trung locked eyes on Lin, his tone sharp and firm. Trung stepped closer. Ignore it. This place is trying to distract us. The more you listen, the easier it is for it to pull you away. Lam forced a grin, trying to lighten the suffocating mood. Lam spread his arms. Then let's just keep moving. Standing here isn't safer. The four of them moved slowly down the hall. Every footstep echoed back from afar, the only sound besides their shoes scraping against the old tile. On the walls, faded bulletin boards still bore the words, Psychiatric Ward, Old Wayne. Hugh glanced at them, swallowed hard, and whispered. Hugh pointed with his hand. Look, this place must have been abandoned ages ago. Some signs even say, Special Treatment Room. Creepy as hell. Trung answered curtly, voice rough. Trung muttered, just keep walking. We don't need to understand this place. They reached a fork. To the left was a row of locked rooms. To the right, a staircase spiraling down into pitch black. None of them wanted to head right. The darkness was like an open pit waiting for them. Lam broke the silence first. Lam pointed left. Let's go this way. At least there are rooms. Maybe we'll find somewhere to rest. We're running on fumes here. Trung nodded, motioning them left. The first door creaked open, revealing a wide patient room. A dim bulb cast pale light over a wooden table in the center. On it lay several old medical files, their pages yellow and brittle. Curious, Hugh picked one up and read aloud. Hugh flipped through pages. Female patient, 19 years old, admitted with schizophrenia. Condition: frequent screaming. Claims of seeing the dead standing around her bed. Patient insists she hears her name being called, especially at night. His voice faded as he set the file back on the table. The group exchanged uneasy looks, a cold shiver running down their spines. Lynn backed away, her voice trembling. Lynn shook her head. I don't want to stay here. This sounds like it's describing me. Trung stepped closer, placing a steadying hand on her shoulder, his tone low but resolute. Trung looked her in the eyes. I know, but we need to understand what's happening. These files could hold the answers. Meanwhile, Lam had opened another folder. Skimming through quickly, Lam frowned. This says, multiple female patients. All around the same age. Admitted within just a few years. All with the same symptoms, hearing their names being called. But here's the strange part. The files just stop. No discharge notes. No transfer records. Hugh clicked his tongue, worry creeping into his voice. Hugh muttered, what if they all died here? And now, they're what's been haunting us. The air thickened. Only the buzzing hum of the bulb on the ceiling filled the silence. Suddenly, a sharp clack echoed from the far end of the hallway, like a door being nudged open. All four whipped their heads toward the sound. Lynn trembled, clutching Trung's arm tightly. Trung barked quickly. Let's move. We're not staying here. Let's see what's out there. They stepped back into the hall. The fluorescent lights flickered violently, making the corridor stretch unnaturally long. At the very end, a heavy iron door hung ajar. The inside pitch black. Hugh swallowed hard, voice barely audible. Hugh took a step back. Do we really go in there? It looks like a cell. Trung's fists clenched, his eyes tense. Trung said slowly, if it's the only door open for us, it means it's where we're meant to go. And at this point, there's no turning back. Lam inhaled deeply, forcing a smirk. Lam muttered, then we go. Whatever they're hiding, we'll face it. Lynn stayed silent, but her grip on Trung's wrist turned bone white. The four crept toward the iron door. Its hinges screeched like a dying wail as it swung wider. From inside, a damp, frigid draft spilled out, like air from a deep grave. As the hall's dim light spilled in, the walls came into view, scribbled over and over with the same word, Lynn. Lynn, Lynn, scrawled in ink, scratched into plaster, smeared in long-dried blood. No one dared speak, only the deafening thump of their own hearts filled the silence. The prison cell was so silent that every ragged breath could be heard. The word, Lynn, scrawled across the walls seemed to writhe under the flickering light. Glowing and fading, as if alive, Hugh was the first to break the silence. His voice hoarse. Hugh, trembling. You all saw it. This isn't a coincidence. Whatever this is, it's targeting Lynn. Lynn staggered back, shaking her head violently. Her lips had gone pale, her eyes wide. Lynn, gasping. No way. Why is my name here? I've never been to this place before. Trung cut in sharply, his tone firm though suspicion burned in his eyes. Trung, stepping closer. Lynn, I need you to be honest. Do you really not know anything? From the start, every strange thing has revolved around you. You hear voices. You see things we can't. And now your name is all over these walls. If you're hiding something from us. Lynn froze, eyes brimming, her voice breaking. Lynn, shaking her head. I don't know. I swear I don't. I'm just as scared as you. But there's one thing. I never told you. The three men fixed their eyes on her. The bulb above buzzed harder, flickering violently, as if urging her to speak. Lynn clasped her hands tightly, inhaling deeply. Lynn, trembling. When I was little, I lost my memory for a while. My parents only said I was sick, and they sent me to a hospital far away. I vaguely remember endless white hallways, and the stench of disinfectant everywhere. I thought it was just fragments of a dream, but since coming here, everything feels so familiar. Lam's eyes widened, his body stiffening. Lam, whispering. You mean, you were here before? In this very hospital? Lin nodded slowly, tears spilling. Lin, choking. Maybe, but I don't remember what happened. Only that, every night, I heard someone calling my name. I thought it was my imagination, but it never stopped. Hugh clutched his head, pressing his back to the wall, his voice breaking apart. Hugh, muttering. Oh God, then this wasn't random. Maybe all of this is to drag Lin back. Trung's fists clenched, his stare sharper than ever. Trung, firmly. That means, Lin is the key. We have to find out what they did to you here. Suddenly, the iron door behind them slammed shut with a deafening bang. The bulb overhead snapped off, plunging the room into suffocating darkness. Lin screamed, her voice echoing with despair. Lin, panicked. No, don't lock us in, let us out. In the dark, the words, Lin, began glowing faintly, like they were scrawled in phosphorescent paint. Then they started to melt, dripping down into streaks of thick red liquid, stinking like fresh blood. Hugh clutched Lam's arm, shrieking. Hugh, shaking. This isn't an illusion anymore. It's alive. A shrill, twisted laugh erupted, bouncing from wall to wall. It warped into whispers, overlapping voices. Lin, give yourself back to us. Lin must stay here. Trung rammed his shoulder against the iron door, each slam echoing loudly, but the door wouldn't budge. His roar was raw, his throat torn. Trung, shouting, if you want Lin, you'll have to take me first. You hear me, you bastards? At once, dozens of blackened hands formed out of the walls, stretching toward Lin. Lin broke down, screaming as she backed into the center of the room. Lin, sobbing, no, don't touch me, I don't want to stay here. Snapping back to himself, Hugh lunged and dragged her aside, yelling to Lam. Hugh, frantic. Lam, help me hold them off. Now. Lam grabbed a broken metal rod from the floor and swung with all his strength. Each strike made the shadowy hands dissipate into smoke, only for more to crawl out immediately. Amid the chaos, Lin suddenly screamed, her voice cutting through the madness. Lin, crying out, if you really want me, then tell me why. What did I do to you? The room fell silent for a beat. Then, from a corner, came a ragged voice, cracked and deathlike. You abandoned us? You left, and we were trapped here. You were the only one who survived. Nobody breathed. Hugh's eyes bulged, the pieces connecting in his head. Hugh, stammering. Lin, what if, back then, you were discharged, while the others died here? And now, their souls are stuck, trying to drag you back? Lin's face drained of color, her body nearly collapsing. Tears gushed down her cheeks as she whispered in despair. Lin, broken. No, if that's true, then I lived in their place. I stole their chance to live. Trung seized her shoulders, shaking her hard. Trung, fierce. Listen to me. None of this is your fault. No one chooses who lives or dies. But if they want to keep you here, I swear I won't let it happen. Lam and Hugh stepped forward, shielding Lin from the shadowy tide spreading across the walls. The air grew heavier, so cold it burned their skin. Suddenly, at the far end of the room, a small door appeared, glowing faintly like the only escape. But instantly, dozens of blackened hands swarmed to block it. Hugh gritted his teeth, screaming, Hugh, desperate. We've got no way back. If we want to live, we have to break through. Trung's eyes blazed. He nodded once, steady and grim. Trung, low and resolute. Go. Live or die, we go together. The four of them charged the glowing door. Screams, crashes, and roars collided in the darkness. Black hands clutched at them, dragging, tearing, but they fought, clawed, and ripped their way forward. Just as they thought they'd be swallowed whole, Lin let out a piercing scream. Her eyes flared with an unnatural light. The black hands froze, shuddered, then disintegrated into ash. The door flared open, flooding the room with light. The group stumbled through. The door slammed behind them. Silence. When they opened their eyes, they found themselves in another patient ward, immaculately clean, eerily bright, everything spotless as if newly prepared. On the table lay a folder. The cover read, Patient, Nguyen Ngoc Linh, 19 years old. Lin staggered forward, her trembling hand pressing onto the folder. Her lips quivered, her voice barely audible. Lin, whispering, "It's me, it really is me." The bright white room was unnervingly quiet. The howling wind outside had vanished, replaced only by the pounding of their own racing hearts. Hugh swallowed hard and whispered, "Hugh," trembling, "I can't believe this. We ran through so many floors. So many filthy rooms full of webs and rot, and now we step into a place that looks spotless. Like it's still in use." Lam scanned the room, tense. Lam, low and firm. "No, this isn't reality. This feels like it was made for Lin to see." Trung walked forward, slowly opening the file on the table. The pages were yellowed, filled with typed reports and handwritten doctor's notes. Every word cut the air like a blade. He read aloud, voice deep. "Trung. Patient. Nguyen Ngoc Linh. Admitted age, 9. Condition: post-traumatic psychosis. Frequent symptoms: nocturnal panic attacks. Constant auditory hallucinations of someone calling her name. Note: patient is one of the few surviving children from the collective experiment in pediatrics." The three others froze. Lin collapsed to her knees, clutching her head, tears streaming uncontrollably. Lin, sobbing, "No, no. I don't remember any of this. How could I be part of this?" Trung flipped further. Another doctor's scrawl appeared. During the fire in the pediatrics ward, 23 children died of smoke inhalation. Only one child survived, Nguyen Ngoc Linh. Since then, the patient has suffered persistent delusions, believing the spirits of her roommates still surround her. Hugh staggered back, his face pale as paper. Hugh, muttering. Then, the voices. "The ghosts we've seen in this hospital, they're the children?" As he spoke, the ceiling light flickered. Slowly, faint shapes of children appeared in the spotless room. Their faces were chalk white, eyes sunken and black, mouths twisted into crooked smiles. A little girl stepped forward, her voice sharp, echoing as if many throats spoke at once. "Lin, you were chosen to live, while we were burned alive. Do you remember? We can't leave, because you carried our lives away." Lin burst into tears, screaming in despair. Lin, shaking. "No, I never chose this. I never wanted to live in anyone's place. Why do I have to bear this guilt?" Trung dropped to his knees, clutching her tightly, nearly shouting, "Trung, fierce. Lin, listen to me. None of this is your fault. You lived because someone saved you, not because you stole anything. But if you believe their lie, they'll never let you go." Lam raised the iron bar he had carried, planting himself between Lin and the ghostly children, roaring, "Lam, you hear me? Lin owes you nothing. If you want someone, take us instead." Hugh clenched his teeth, stepping up beside him with a broken bottle in hand. "Hugh, that's right, come after us. Lin's not alone anymore." The children stared with their hollow eyes. Then a boy stepped forward, his words cutting like knives. "You don't understand? Lin didn't just survive. Lin is the bridge. We need a body to escape. And Lin's body is the door." Lin trembled, biting her lip until it bled. Then she screamed, pained but defiant. "Lin, no, I won't let you control me. If I really am the bridge, then I'll end it here and now." She ripped the file from Trung's hands and tore the pages apart. At once, the children shrieked in agony, their screams rattling the room until everyone's ears rang. Trung lunged toward her, horrified. Trung, shouting, "What are you doing? If that file binds you to them, destroying it could sever everything." "Are you sure?" Lin lifted her tear-stained face, her eyes blazing with resolve. "Lin, slowly. If freedom costs me my memories, then I accept it. I won't be trapped in the past anymore." As the last page shredded, the room exploded with light. The children howled, their forms cracking apart, disintegrating into ash swept away by a violent whirlwind. The whole room shook, walls and furniture splitting with deafening roars. Hugh screamed, "Hugh, run, or we'll be buried alive." The four of them bolted toward the only glowing passage. The hallway yawned open beneath them, dragging them down, until suddenly, they woke up. The four lay sprawled before the rusted gates of the abandoned hospital. Dawn's first light spilling across the sky. Silence. No wind, no spirits, only the still gate behind them. Trung pushed himself up, scanning the empty yard, then laughed like a madman. Trung, whispering, "We're out, finally. We're out." Hugh laughed and cried all at once. Sprawled flat on the ground. "Hugh, thought we were done for. Can't believe I'm alive to see the sun." Lam clutched his head, collapsing to his knees, gasping for air. "Lam, it all feels like a nightmare." Lin sat quietly, her eyes wet but her face radiant. Gazing at the rising sun, she whispered, "Lin, softly. I've broken free from the past." Trung laid a hand on her shoulder, squeezing gently. "Trung, steady. Yes, you're not alone anymore. Wherever the road leads, we'll walk it with you." The four sat in silence, watching the sun climb over the horizon, closing the darkest chapter of their lives. Behind them, the gate creaked faintly, then shut by itself. None of them turned back.